Hey, welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Ernest Rowe, famed airgun guru, and I brought you for one reason, because this video is for all those firearm enthusiasts. You've owned firearms your whole life, but now you've discovered the joys of high-powered airguns, particularly an FX Airgun. There's a lot you need to know about care, maintenance, and things you're going to come across. So we're going to go over that today here on FX Tech. So Ernest, you've been an enthusiast for years upon years with high-powered airguns. Myself, I've been in this industry for like 8 years now, and it's changed drastically as far as what an airgun can do, power. You know, just recently we've gotten to the point where we're shooting the same slug at the same velocities of powder burners, right?
Yep.
So what's happening is powder burners are figuring this out, and they're coming to our side of the world. They're understanding the joys of airgun, the great low standard deviations, all the benefits, no recoil. You get this without the ATF involved, and go on and on. You guys figured that out. That's why you have an airgun. Now, compared to a firearm, firearms are a little bit more straightforward. Not rudimentary, but you get the idea. You have a shell, powder, primer, hammer, shoots.
Yeah.
Now, a pneumatic airgun, how many parts and moving parts and seals and things like that compared to a firearm, would you say?
Oh, like firearm, maybe 35 pieces, and the PCP's about a couple hundreds.
Yeah, so it's a little bit imposing.
Yeah.
Now, the good thing is there's a lot of resource and stuff, and the learning curve's not as bad as you think, but that is a reality. This is pneumatics. I know your previous career, you were in the Navy, right?
Yep. I worked with high pressure air, hydraulics, and submarines. So, yeah, it's in my area here.
It's your wheelhouse.
Expertise, yeah.
Now, the thing with pneumatics, the benefit of that is this is why these guns are starting to outshoot firearms from an accuracy standpoint. People are getting more and more amazed because you can control all those variables, right? You can you can basically look. We're getting standard deviations below 2 on the Pantera. That's
tight.
Right,
mind blowing.
Now, let's talk about some realities of how to use these. And I'm not talking like filling the gun or doing the magazine. I guarantee everybody's done their magazine wrong once and then no spring tension. That stuff you can figure out on your own. We're talking about care for the rifle. And the reality is that over time, as you're using your gun, especially the thing with an FX, you're going to pull the trigger a lot. So at some point, those parts, seals are going to wear. And, you know, basically you're going to have an O-ring that leaks or fails.
I mean, this is a high pressure gun, all right? This high pressure end, we reduce it by the regular, and it's always loaded. It's fire standby. It's containing all that pressure by O-rings.
Right, that's a good point, because unlike a firearm where that pressure only exists when you're pulling the trigger.
Burn it,
Yeah, this has that pressure throughout, and actually that's a good thing in certain ways, right?
Yep.
I know this is a thing that you need to know. And actually, that's interesting because when it comes to storage, you don't want to empty this out and leave it without pressure on it. You need pressure.
You need pressure on the O-ring to maintain that seal. So you actually force in this O-ring with pressure and fill the gap between 2 parts and create a seal. All right. You don't want to leave unpressurized for a long time, and the rubber will not flex back to the original shape. So when you try to fill it again, it will leak through there.
Right.
The gap.
So bottom line, just keep the pressure on it. I mean, you know, from our standpoint, we import these from Sweden, and they, as you know, they sell like hotcakes. So we're air flying everything in. So we actually get them without pressure. And so when we're refilling them, I mean, there's a small percentage that those O-rings without pressure, we have to replace some things. So that's just, so keep pressure on it first off. So you want to store it with pressure. A little bit counterintuitive, but you want to keep pressure. Now, not loaded bolt in the chamber, but keep pressure.
There's certain O-rings in there has a dynamic application that will wear out. It's like the probe. It goes in and out of the seal of the probe. The O-ring, sliding surface, that'll wear out first. Is the probe. So
let's talk about that, because I liken it to when I owned my first car.
Yeah.
Now, in the modern world, everybody takes their car to get oil changes, but they're like, I know when I got my first car, it was like my dad told me there's certain things you have to do to own a car. Maintenance, right?
Yep.
And I compare that to, you know, you're gonna change your oil. At 16, that was like, that seemed like this monumental thing, and then you do it and you're like, oh, that was it. That's really simple, right? So a lot of these O-ring changes, this isn't surgery. This is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, right? But you just don't go down and replace the O-ring for the heck of it. No, you only replace it if it leaks.
Yeah. So let's do this, Ernest. Let me do a Q&A here. I'd like to go over basically there's 3 categories of leaks that's going to happen at some point in your gun ownership, and then let's talk about some of the common areas. And in fact, when it comes to common areas, you just have a new video out where it's talking about those common fixes. Yes. These are the ones. This is like some of these are like the change in your oil. You got to know how to do it, like the probe, things like that. And then you got the master classes. You got the full takedown, put apart. Yep. Look, the reality is you have a lot of options. We have more and more dealers basically coming online every month, and those dealers are being trained to service your rifles, right? So you got a lot. Where you bought the rifle from is a great source. FX USA is a great source, but then a lot of you guys are super handy. You guys know your stuff. That's what these videos from Ernest are, because you can sit there with your gun. You can put it on YouTube there and basically
pause it all you want so you can understand me.
Yeah, it's the whole, you teach someone to fish instead of giving a fish. Like, it's really not that bad. So let's talk about the 3 areas or 3 types of leaks. How would you classify those?
Whoa! You got a leak there. I heard that. That's the blow.
That's the first type of leak. Holy shit, it's leaking. The very apparent leak.
Yeah, and the other one is like, you drop 50 bars in a half a day.
Right.
So those with the leak tech, you could find those really easy.
Those are pretty easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Easiest one.
The obvious one is blowing out. You put your finger on the regulator hole, it's going out. Yeah. The one where you put air in the bottle, and if you look at the gauge, basically you can almost see it slowly moving, right?
Yep.
You can't necessarily hear it, but it's going.
You can see it. Yeah.
So to your point, those are pretty easy to find.
Easy.
Now, I know in your videos a lot you use that spray foam stuff, but you just use like water with a little soap or
on a slow leak you can't use the really bubbly.
Spit on a gun, Ernest. To get
spit is actually, it has less bubbles in it, so you probably see the leak a lot quicker. But
I know how you roll.
Anyway, so the really hardest leak to find is the one that's dropped about 25 bars, maybe 3 or 4 days.
So the third one, right? So to be clear, the category of the crap, it's leaking, everybody knows. Number 2 is I can tell it's leaking because it's been a few hours. Yep. And then the third that's the sneaky bugger. You
can't put the soapy leak tech has a lot of bubbles on it.
Right.
It's the one that's really slow and the bubbles are moving around. Then it doesn't look like a leak, but they're moving around. They're like little small bubbles turn into a medium bubble.
You can't tell.
And it's just like moving around. They said that's a slow leak.
Yeah. So let's talk about the slow leaks, because first of all, just because you have a slow leak, you don't necessarily even have to care about it. So let's explain the slow leak. So you're saying that I have my gun filled, I'm done shooting for the day, it's like at 200 bar.
Yep.
I store it. I come back 4 days later, it's now at 150. For example, the idea is it's a super slow leak. Technically, from my standpoint, because I've had this happen with guns, it's like, I don't care. I just fill it up.
I don't either.
It's not going to affect your shot to shot, right? Because it's so slow. As I'm taking shots, no big deal.
It's not going to affect accuracy, or it's not going to affect you in that shooting session.
Yeah.
It's not.
Now, I'm also a little bit OCD, so I can appreciate that bugs the crap out of me. So
but
how to find it, right?
Yeah, but if there's a problem, if you go in, there's a risk of you stripping the screw or causing another domino effect, another O-ring cause it to leak. Now you're with 2-3 O-rings that's leaking. So,
right, you can do more damage than good. Yeah. So honestly, my advice is if you have a super slow leak, don't stress about it. And just any PCP air gun you buy, you are going to have to face this. This is not an FX thing. This is
all PCP has O-rings.
Air guns. They all have O-rings, and especially the more you shoot it. Now you're talking. What are some common areas? Where's the most likely? If they have a new PCP, what's the most likely for spot?
Is the probe that actually seals it, because it is most wear and tear. It doesn't actually
sliding into the.
It doesn't actually contain the pressure. Constant pressure. It's only when you fire as a quick blast.
That's to make sure the air is coming down the
If
barrel.
the seal is not sealing good, it's going to blow in your cheek and it's going to freaking annoying you.
That's an easy one where, if all of a sudden your velocity is going down or it doesn't shoot the way it used to. Yeah, that's the first place to check, right?
Uh-huh.
What's the other common? Well, if you ever fire a gun without the probe in it, from experience, you're going to blow out the barrel.
The probe O-ring is going to fly out.
Yeah. So there's some common things like that. What are some other common? This is another one.
Yeah.
The gauge.
Quad seal gauge. That gauge you see on the quad ring, and sometimes it doesn't have the tension on the rubber to create a seal. So the quickest way to fix that is just tighten the gauge.
Just turn it.
Just turn it.
Yeah, that's That's a very common one where, like, I know even with the phone with the text, they'll, we'll basically figure out what's going on. Like, hey, just turn that a little bit and you're good.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of it.
It's not going to affect you if the gauge is not zeroed.
Yeah, I know.
So,
actually, that's one where sometimes people create it because they're a little bit OCD and they're like, I want my gauge to.
So they back it out, they'll cause a leak.
Yeah. So don't worry about if it's perpendicular straight up and down. Just
it's
turn
still
it.
12 o'clock when they were sideways, right?
Just turn your head. Yeah. So that's a common one. What are some other common ones?
Is a regulator.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little vent hole over here because there's a little piston there always moving when trying to adjust the regulator pressure. That could wear out.
And especially as people are working on their guns, if they back out the regulator too far or push it in, that's another one where users can cause
the worst
problems.
one, they're trying to lower the reg pressure. This doesn't have an automatic vent, all right? To lower the pressure, you need to lower the pressure to vent someplace to lower it. You can't. So you got to actually drain the whole system out, then turn it in a little further than usual, refill it, then back it out to increase the pressure to where you want it.
So I'll be the interpreter.
Yeah.
I speak Ernest. So essentially with that regulator, if you're trying to lower the pressure, because the pressure's in there, you turn it to lower, the pressure's still in there. It's got to release. So I know you can dry fire every couple of turns one way, or you could just remove the pressure, turn it in. But the key with that, and this is one where a lot of users will create it, like when you get your gun, I know it's got knobs on it, but you don't want to go crazy. It's all about slow incremental movements. This is your baby. You gotta
it's 100%. You got to know the gun is unloaded before you dry fire. I've seen guys think 100% no ammo in it, and it's put all in the drywall.
A gun as a loaded thing. So the point of this is, so you have your air gun. It is going to create leaks at some point.
Yes.
Especially as you use it. Now, one of the things that we've done here at FX USA, so for the U.S. market, in general, all the dealers around the world, FX sells like a reseal kit, stuff like that. Yeah. One of the things we've created here in the U.S. is it's called the Impact M3 Reseal Kit. I think of this like my field kit. Basically, I throw this in my case or my shooting bag because essentially in here I have all the O-rings, some of them in double, triple, you got a lot of O-rings. Basically, if something goes wrong, you go to the website, we have the big exploded diagrams that RJ is now showing magically on the screen here. And you find where it's leaking, and that'll tell you the exact O-ring. And then in here, you have everything labeled. It's like a first aid kit. You got, I got my O-ring, I put it in. And this one's a little bit more advanced than the standard O-ring kits because we have parts in here like the
whole rod here. I mean, sometimes the Delrin gets beat up over here, and it'll cause it to leak. And this area, there's an O-ring here prevent it from blowing on your cheek. Yeah. So again, over a lot of shots, this to me is more like the brakes on the car. It's fine, but as you use it and use it and use it, at some point you're gonna have to replace it. Especially you remove the C1 so many times, you end up cross-threading the threads, gouge it up. Yeah.
So essentially, in that kit, you basically have everything you need on the fly, and or your house when you discover a leak that you can confidently go in there and
it's not just O-ring that contain pressure. It's O-rings inside the barrels too for the liner, for the shroud, even the O-rings for the barrel mounts.
Basically, if you break an O-ring or you lose one or something, everything's in there. So that's just for the U.S. market, but that's something you can get from your dealer. And we have the first one. The other thing, what we've done here is this is the M3 Reseal Kit. But when you say M3, as you guys know, with our rifles, there's rolling innovations, right? Yep. So the M3 originally had a smaller this, and then the power plenum or the power block. There's different things that come across. So this has all the O-rings, no matter what generation M3 you have. And we're going to be making that for the other rifles as well, though they have reseal kits already, but more advanced ones. And that's just I think that's just a smart thing to do as you shoot your gun. The message here, and again, this is for, I know there's so many firearm people coming in. They're buying their first PCP air gun because they're seeing the results it can do. There's a learning curve. And look, we're here to walk you through it. If you have questions, here in the U.S., you can call FX Airguns USA. We have our customer service that are basically trained techs, and then they have the actual techs. The idea is we're going to get you answers if need be.
They're going to walk you through a problem.
Yeah, we're going to walk you through, send out parts. But that's why this makes it easier. Because I understand if a gun goes down, you want to get it back up and running as quickly as possible. So that idea of preventative maintenance, having it ready to go, that's the whole key on that.
I know there's a lot of guys out there love to do work on their own gun, and there's a lot of benefit in this, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of the fun. I know for myself, it's a shooting experience, but you're using, this is a piece of art as far as mechanics and pneumatics and everything that's going on. There's a beauty to it. There's an elegance. So welcome to the dark side. I will say your firearms are going to get a little lonely. Now listen, this is important and a little bit shocking. All air guns at some point will leak. They're going to leak. This is not an FX thing. This is all manufacturers of PCP
use
air
O-rings.
guns. O-rings, pneumatics, moving parts. So it will leak. Now the difference is not all manufacturers are going to help you the way that we can. Yeah, I think that's fair to say.